Reagan, why don't you talk about that?
Sure. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in, and we have a special guest, Jerry Foltz. Thanks for being here with the Golf Channel, our commentator. So, Mike Harris, thanks for bringing Jerry, and I know Jerry, you know a few of the curlers, so this is great. Welcome.
Thank
Um,
you.
well, it's nice to see you and meet you, and we're honored. Um, this pro-am, the goal of this is to raise awareness about lupus and funds for research. So we really appreciate all your help. And lupus has touched all of our lives. I know they say everybody knows someone who has lupus, and I have lupus. And Mike Deek, who has helped us plan this and came up with the idea with his brother Joel for the Alpaca. Mike has lupus too, and it's really impacted our lives. It was life threatening.
I think it's
There's
recorded.
no cure. We're living with it day to day. I'm in remission on medication, and Mike still has challenges, and it's a very serious illness. So we're lucky that Mike, you're healthy, and but it has affected people close to us. And one of our very good friends, Price Atkinson, lost his mother to lupus, and so he wanted to share a video about that. So Mike and Joel, can you guys play that for us? My Price works for TESN and commentates curling and helps a lot of the curling teams with marketing and their social media accounts, and he's helped us tremendously. And he works with Curling Zone as well. So we love Price, and we just want to honor him by letting him share a story about his mom.
Hey guys, Price Atkinson with Curling Zone. Thanks to Regan Burr for a few minutes here to talk to you guys about something that is near and dear to our family's heart, and that is lupus. And Regan is a tireless advocate in the work she does regarding lupus with the Lupus Research Foundation and certainly Lupus Field in the event this weekend. Unfortunately, it's a disease that our family knows way too much about. As my mom, who was obviously my mom, my best friend, and really a mentor in a lot of ways with journalism, was diagnosed when I was in high school, just about to start high school in 1989, after numerous doctor's appointments, months and weeks of feeling horrible, not be able to figure out exactly what it was.
Not really.
Ended up flat on her back with a spinal tap. They did diagnose her with the most aggressive form of lupus, and many people know that lupus is not something that you get rid of. It's not like cancer that you're able to put it in remission. It's basically just something that you're able to deal with. You do put it in remission, so to speak, but you always have it. It never goes away. It's just something you learn to live with. But unfortunately, my mom lost her battle with lupus in 2002, March, due to complications with a pulmonary embolism.
You know, we could skin this cat another way. I could play it from
she lives in
the initial message that he sent me and just put it on the screen.
It's working
I want to say
fine
thank you to everybody.
It's on the live stream.
This weekend. Those who have played in Lupus Field before,
I just
those who
can't
played
share
this
it
weekend,
very well
those
with
who have
everybody
given,
else.
Volunteered, donated items, time, money to fight this.
All right, I'm back with my shirt back.
Nasty disease and
Hold on a second. 30 seconds. Joel's playing it on the live stream, so I'm having a hard time broadcasting it.
At past Lupus Fields. Just cannot thank you
the Zoom
enough.
chat, but Joel has it on the video,
thank
so we're
Regan
not
enough
live yet.
because it is
Okay,
absolutely.
I'll give you a countdown here until we're back live.
Debilitating for those who are afflicted with lupus. In hope
So
in my
it'll be on
lifetime
the
we will
video,
see a
but not
cure.
on the
But thank you again to everybody, and thank you to Regan for giving me this opportunity. And
Sorry about that.
I want to say good luck to everybody this weekend, and have some fun.
2, 1. Okay. That's no good. We're back, Regan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And I hope everybody has a chance to watch the video. And again, we thank you guys and Price and everyone here for all your support.
So that was a fun round of games. I need everybody to, all your amateurs, make sure you email me the results so I can get things tallied, but because it's really close. So we'll need those results. I will get the next round of games set up. In the meantime, who's got a fun story to share? Who's got Kevin? Are you there, Kevin? I don't have my thing open.
I got you loud and clear, Mikey.
All right, Kevin. Give me a fun Johnny Moe story. You got to have 1,000 of these. Give us all a fun Johnny Moe story.
PG. Okay.
That's the hard part right there. PG-13, let's say.
That eliminates
later in the night.
Yeah. Oh man, hey, Mike. Yeah. Johnny would surprise us quite often, actually. I'll tell you what. At the Briar one year in Calgary in 2009, Johnny wasn't playing very well the first 3 or 4 games, so it was never his fault if he wasn't playing well. It was other things, and this time it was his jacket's fault. And so he phoned his mom in Ottawa and had her FedEx his 08 Briar jacket overnight to Calgary. And we had to play at 9 a.m. against somebody, I forget who. And Johnny comes out on the ice, and we thought he must have slept outside overnight because his jacket was completely wrinkled. But he had to have that jacket. It's very, very important to him. And then he went out and he shot like 98. And that's Johnny. God. And one time at a Skins game, he had his old socks from juniors in bag still after 20 years later. And he only wore them under very special times. And he wasn't making many shots in the Skins game. Same thing. He had to run to the locker room, put on those old green, well, they were fuzzy by that time, socks, and then come out and make everything. So that's Johnny Moe in a nutshell. Like, it was never his fault. It was never really about the rocks, but it was about his socks or his jacket or something else. Yeah, true story.
Were those socks ever cleaned?
Never,
Kevin?
Never. You can't wash the luck out of them.
Oh, I can only imagine that as his teammate. Did you make sure to like sit across the room from him?
Oh, brutal stuff. Yeah. You're probably only worn maybe 200 or 300 times. And how much do you really sweat anyway?
Oh no, sweeping doesn't. Well, I've never known. Sweeping makes me sweat, but I'm fat, and I'm out of shape. So there's that. Johnny Moe is neither of those things. So
yeah, and that was a PG story, Mike Harris.
Yes,
there are.
At least it was socks and not boxers.
There are some of those out there too, Jerry. There's a few guys out there like that as well. So
yeah.
Can you name names, Mike?
No, but one of my former teammates was one of. No, he was socks as well, though. Georgie, he was socks.
And, you named the name.
He always wore the same.
Yeah, you just spilled the beans.
It's not on this call. It's okay. We're good.
I mean, it's only live streamed to YouTube right now, so
the internet
doesn't notice already. Larry and Ray have left the broadcast. They reappeared. They are in the Lake Tahoe Curling Club right now, throwing stones live.
Nice.
Making us all jealous.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say. Like, oh yeah, there he is, out there.
Are you guys broadcasting this final slam for the calendar?
You are live right now.
You're live.
Yes.
Larry, what do you want to say, Larry? You're live. Tell the world.
Well, we're curling. It's mano a mano. It's 2 brothers who are quarantining together, and we get to curl. So yeah.
Love it.
The club will be open here in Lake Tahoe in about 10 days for members, hopefully.
Good.
Does that game become the tiebreaker? Does one represent the pros, the other represent? I feel like it's got to be something like that.
We can do that. They're only 5 minutes away from their house, so even if they come home, we need a tiebreaker. Send it back out.
No, that's fair. Just like I know I'm a $7 cab ride from the Utana Curling Club in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
So we're running a little bit behind, but before we get into the next games, Colin, why don't you? Somebody had asked what's the hardest part about being on the curling tour all year?
I think that one's pretty easy. It's the amount of time you have to be away from your family. Sometimes you start adding training camps to events beforehand before you even catch a flight and leave. So there's a good 3 weeks at a time for a lot of teams. You're pretty much you're on the road with them, and sometimes you got to get along with them too, and that might be a hard part too. But I think just being away from family, it's so nice to sleep in your own bed and be able to watch Netflix, some simple things that you take for granted. I think that's the biggest thing for me is just I want to enjoy time with the people I love. So it's nice to be home, and this break has actually kind of been a pretty unique experience to have an extended period of time, which I haven't had since I was a kid.
Chelsea or Brad, anything to add to that?
I'd say the only thing to add, I mean, that's for sure part of it. For me, it's a little bit different. I don't live in the same city as my family anyway, so my time away from them would be away from them regardless. But like trying to find a job where you can curl, good luck. It's not, but we don't make enough money as curlers yet, most of us, to be full time and be able to live off solely curling for any significant period of time. So I think time away, I would just phrase it as time away from home, from family, from work, from everything. Just the amount of travel, the sheer volume of the travel is probably the hardest part. It gets exhausting, and everybody, it's easy to think that travel is glamorous. It's not really most of the time. And that gets very tiring. And to Colin's point, like, not only are you away from your people, but you also are on top of your teammates for that length of time too. So you have to try to manage those relationships while spending more time with them than you are with your own spouse or family members or whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got my wife right here with me. Sean is here with me.
Yeah, this curling tour stuff like that.
You're a saint.
Thank you.
She is. Yeah. Couldn't do without her. But, just to throw, I guess, a little different angle at that question, I'd say from the competitive side of things, and yeah, it's difficult to be away from family and the kids and Shauna. But I think, too, it's from the competitive side of things, it's tough to stay hungry week in and week out. I'd say that's one of the toughest things when we're competing, too. Week in and week out, it's tough to bring it every single week, and I think that that goes with that mental toughness aspect, and just trying to be as mentally tough and grind and dig deep as much as you possibly can out there, and treat every event like it's the last event you're ever going to play in. I think that's one of the most difficult things out there to try to do as well.
I agree completely. It's a mental strength battle for sure in that sense, and it is hard, and you find yourself, it's not that you don't want to win, but you're just mentally exhausted from trying to be up all the time and on all the time and bring that same level of intensity. It's for sure on the competitive side, that's the hardest part, is with the intensity of the schedule and the number of events we play now. If you played 5 or 6 events a year, it would be easy to be up for all of them, but now you're talking 15 events. Well, you're spreading yourself a bit thinner. So it's a good point. I agree, Brad, completely.
We should talk about it even further, because I've been saying it and thinking it for years is, what if instead of playing, all teams are different, do things differently, and I get that, but if you spread your schedule out a little bit more, if we all spread our schedules out a little bit more, and I love that Jerry Foltz is on this call, and I'm a huge fan of golf, and thanks for setting that up, Mike. That's sick, by the way. Awesome, but you think of Tiger Woods, and he only played X amount of events, and he just made sure like he was ready, prepared, hungry every single time he went out. And what if curling teams started to take that approach, where instead of playing 10 or 12 events before Christmas, but maybe you focused on 6, and you're always prepared, always hungry, always rested, and instead of chasing points and dollars and stuff like that, right? Would you come out, and would it all be worth it anyways, because you're fresh and ready to go all the time? It's that point.
Well, I know that's kind of been our theory the last few years. We only play usually 6 or 7 events before Christmas, and I find that later in the season it's helped us play well in the playdowns and at the April slams. So that's something that we've kind of said as a team, we don't really worry about points, and it's worked out okay. But we definitely, like, early in the season, will always be ranked really low. until we start getting some spiels in. But that's like Brad said, that's the toughest thing is just managing your workload, your games, your practices. Our team, we like to practice a lot. We can do it because we all live in the same place. So we practice, during tour season, we'll be practicing a few times a week as a team usually.
Yeah, I love that, Darren. Just to add to that, I think that takes courage and trust and confidence and knowing your team and your teammates to be able to say, you know what, we don't care about ranking, we don't care about points, we know that we'll be there in the end anyways, and you focus on the things that you need to focus on to be your best when the moments when the pressure's on and everything matters.
And obviously we're still tweaking with that a little bit too, but yeah, I think it's something that a lot of curlers you see by the end of the year, they don't, like Brad said, they just don't have that intensity because they're worn out and tired,
So Kevin, we've got Kevin Martin here, has been on arguably some of the best teams in the world. How would your teams have approached the season when you were playing? Would you have done something differently had you been in where you were then? Had you been in the way that in the tour now? Would you have done things differently?
Well, I think we played it a lot like Darren and Brendan in that we didn't play that much. Usually around by the end of the year, 12 or 13 events if we managed to get to the Worlds, and maybe 14. But that was it for the whole year. And we didn't play any kind of summer stuff or anything like that. So we'd only play maybe 6 or 7. Usually 7 before Christmas, 7 after, if you get to the Worlds. That was always ours. We were thinking the same way. We never wanted to play more than 2 in a row, but usually have a week off between each event is a perfect world for us back in the day.
Did you have the opportunity to play that many events?
Oh yeah.
When you were going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's always been events starting in September. It even I'm not even sure, Brad, if it still does, but there used to be a couple of Swiss events we used to go to end of August and in September. They still exist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baden was always end of August, and then there's even earlier ones now. The other part is that the slams go now into May. Like our Champions Cup is in May now. So it's a really short off season. And you've spoken to me about this, Kevin, a few times, about how you would always try to get your body back to balance. Yeah, like 2 months in the summer just to kind of rest and recover, right?
Yeah, that was really important. I'd take 2 weeks off at the end of the season. So the first 2 weeks of May were completely off, nothing, just let the body relax. Then we would balance the body, which would take about 2 months, and then build muscle the last however long you've got. The problem now with the athletes is, to Brad's point, if you're going to play into May, okay, let's take 2 weeks. So now you're May 20th, 2 months, June, July 20th, 6 weeks to build muscle. August, no, you don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Right.
You're already in the season.
Season's
So you
already
don't have time to relax the body, balance the body, rebuild the body. Just don't have time. That's unfortunate. That's why you get so many injuries now with top
yeah,
athletes.
that's what I was gonna say. Everybody goes, well, how come curlers are injured now all of a sudden? Well, it's because we're doing this to ourselves. The season's this long. and you don't have time. You don't have time to properly rehab and rebuild and rest and recover. There's not enough time for it anymore. And then that's just with a men's or women's schedule. Then you throw in doubles and all this other stuff. Like it's insane.
There was a study from the Vancouver Olympics that found that curling was the #2 most injury-prone sport at the Olympics anyway, though. So
how's that?
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, it's first ice hockey must be
crazy.
Ice hockky. I said ice hockey. Who says ice hockey? I did.
Yeah, what
Not Canadian.
Yeah, Mike, are you American?
What the hell?
Sorry, the field hockey crowd on here would be offended otherwise.
We're live on
Yeah, I think
evidently we have done something to tick off YouTube.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Joel,
Took off your
we
shirt.
saw that Joel has gotten us up on a new link. So
You guys naked curling is not going to fly on YouTube apparently.
I'm not sure what happened, but somebody had some.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I figured. Yeah, I figured it would have been mine or Darren's nipples, but whatever.
That's why I kept it below the nipple line here, guys.
that could very well be.
Are you guys? Yeah.
So if you go to no, I'm just kidding.
No, as far as I know, my nipples are not copyrighted, and I did not show them.
I get invited to do one curling show in my entire life, and you get yanked from the air. This is me.
Hey, we got to make sure. No, maybe it was NBC and Golf Channel taking it down, Jerry. They don't want you with your tarp off, sitting here on the internet, right?
Oh no, they would love this.
Send it.
Can I ask you guys a total rookie novice question? I know everybody who would be watching would know the answer to this anyway, but I'm just so damn curious. When you guys talk about competing too much, and like Tiger Woods, who would literally he won't play a tournament if he doesn't think he can win, but he's one of the few that limits his schedule. What is the most taxing part, other than the travel? Is it the actual physical competition or the mental competition? I'm really curious about that.
I think a bit of it depends what position you're playing. So as skips, like, my knee gets sore and stuff, but I'm not sweeping. So the physical part of it is less for me, and it's more the mental side of it. It's all the strategy and all that stuff. But if you're a front end player, the sweeping is the most physically taxing part of the game for sure. So then you're talking beating yourself up with sweeping that many rocks for that many weeks in a row and all this stuff. And so you see some shoulder injuries and some of that stuff from sweepers. And part of it would be knees is a big thing in curling, no matter what position you play, just because of the position that we're in to slide and stuff. But right. I think it's probably it's a bit of both for everybody, but I think if you're playing skip or third, it would skew more towards the mental side, and if you're playing front end, it would skew more towards the physical side, would be my sense anyway.
If you make a final in a slam, you're playing 15 hours a weekend.
The slams are actually less intense because your games are more spread out, but you're playing four usually in the round robin, and then the playoffs. So you're playing 7 games, yeah. But if you look at a Scotties or a Canada Cup, that's more like 10, 13, 14, depending on which way you get there.
Yeah, plus we play 8 ends, the Scotties and World.
Yeah, there's still 10. Yeah, that's true.
But a lot of the front end, like Colin Hodgson can speak that, but also you said between sweeping and mixed doubles, especially, like and that's a whole other sport. In fact, mixed doubles is such a physical strain for both players all the time, really. But
not if you play it like Colin and I do.
Well, that's
it's not a physical strain for me at all.
As their one-time coach, I can vouch.
Yeah.
When I curled my daughter, I make her sweep all the rocks, so that's totally different.
For me, it's the mental taxing part of like trying to be Colin's teammate for a whole weekend, and for him, it's the physical sweeping part. That's where we get the exhaustion from.
It's very similar to golf in that regard, because golf, you walk around 5, 8, 10 miles a day for 5 or 6 straight days. It's not that taxing. It's not hard. You're outside. You're enjoying great weather. But the mental side of it is so much more taxing. Mm-hmm. But there's a combination of the two, and I really never thought that it really kind of more related to your position as opposed to the actual physical taxation of all those games, all those sheets, and it's so intense mentally. Just watching it on TV, I get nervous. I get tired watching it. I get so nervous for everybody. I think a big part of that too is because the commentary is so good. Kmart, Mike, that's why.
Oh, see, yeah, that boy. Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah.
Plug, that's good.
That's a good friend. That's the way you do it. And now you guys got to work with an amateur like me tonight. Jeez. Yeah.
Just to add to that, guys, I just loved everything I heard there, and I just wanted to add, I think that, one of my favorite, I guess, sayings that I've heard recently is that the mind gives out before the body ever will. And yeah, mentally taxing, like Chelsea was talking about it. I'm a skip as well. There's a bunch of skips on this Zoom call, and the mental aspect is way more draining at skip than physical, but you feel it physically in your body like crazy. And we had a heck of a grind this year at the Briar, having to play tiebreakers and stuff, and after a long week and at the end of the week. And even though Gushu won that Briar and we did not win that Briar, we came out of that Briar feeling like we won the Briar. And I mean that because in the sense that we learned so much about ourselves. It was so rewarding to go through that, push ourselves to a limit that I don't think we've ever really been pushed to before, that it became like our new sort of, I don't know, the limit that we can go to. And it was super rewarding. It was weird. It was so weird. I've never felt like you've come out of an event before and you lost, but you felt like you won. That's the first time that's ever happened to myself and our team. But yeah, mentally, it's crazy how physically you feel for 3 or 4 days after a really hard week of curling, right?
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's like I say it's mental, and that makes it sound like it's just mental, but like I ache, like I've got aches and pains and stuff as if I did more physical work than I've done, but it's just because you're so exhausted. So that's a good point, because it's easy to say mentally exhausting, and you think of that as an entirely different thing, as if it doesn't affect you physically, but it does.
So how do you,
your whole nervous system?
Exactly.
Right.
Brad, I can't. I completely agree with you. I think I felt better as a competitor on my team after the Briar, after losing the tiebreaker to Epping, that we did lay it out there, and we know where we made mistakes and we want those moments back. But like, I think we put it together mentally, and that, physically it all followed after that. For the first time, our team kind of like really, we struggled so hard that first year, and we tried to force that stuff to happen. And then this is the first time we just kind of like let the cards fall and let people, everybody kind of just found what was necessary for them. And all 4 of us probably had the best performance we've had, even though we didn't win. It's kind of a strange, odd feeling where you lose, but you feel like you won quite a bit there. This Briar was insane, by the way. I've never seen anything like that.
The Briar, that's the best Briar I've ever seen.
Oh,
so
absolutely,
that
yeah.
part of it for sure. But I felt like we lost the trials final in 2018, and everybody's like, and I mean, obviously you're crushed. You don't get to go to the Olympics, and you're within a shot or 2 of going, and whatever. But I walked away from that trials actually saying there's nothing else. There's nothing I would have changed about how we approached it, about how we felt. Like, it was a very strange feeling. Like, as much as I was gutted, I felt some kind of relief or closure. I don't know what the right word is. In like, we left everything out there, and we none of us were nervous before the final. We did all the right things. We prepared the right way, and we just didn't win. But you're not gonna win every time. And I felt, I felt a shocking amount of satisfaction. I don't even know if that's the right word, but of peace about losing that trials, because of, like, I just felt like we couldn't have. Yeah, we made mistakes. Like, I flashed a blank in the first end, but I loved how I threw it. So, whatever, it happens. And I felt like there was nothing I would have changed. And like, I learned a lot about myself, and it is weird though to walk away after a loss and feel somehow oddly good about it.
So how do you guys like recover, like, physically and mentally? Like, I've always wondered that, like, Chels, Brad, Haji, like, is it just you stay in bed for 2 days, or like, what do you do? Like I know after the Saskatoon.
Have you heard of beer?
Yeah, but I know after like the Saskatoon men's bonds feel, and I don't curl on the level anywhere close to you guys. But like, I take the day off and just kind of hang out and be hungover. Like, is like, what do you guys do?
It all depends on, for me, I'm going to speak to this if I can, as a spouse, which is probably odd, well, whatever. anyway, I'm sure every spouse, every partner has their own way of coming home, or when their partner comes home. But for me, I know the next day, it all depends if Brad wins or loses. Right? If he wins, it's a happy come home and it's all joyful and everything. And if he loses, it's a little bit sad. But whether it's a win or a loss, he still needs to come down from it, and he needs that time. So usually for Brad, it's a day or two, depending on how long the event is, for him to be back to his normal husband, dad self. So we just give him his time, and he comes around. He's like, I'm ready now. Come back to me. So
yeah, and just to add to that also, it's that rest and recovery, like she's saying, and staying in bed. Yeah. But at the same time, I'll usually try to force myself to go to the gym as soon as possible and get the blood flow and the sweat going. And even if I don't want to, right? It's always trying to do the uncomfortable thing to get me past feeling like crap.
This has been great conversation. I love hearing all these stories. We've got gold medal winners, national championship winners, some world number ones, fantastic curlers here, some of the best in the world. We've just take a pause on this, and we got to get into our last round of games here. We've got a couple going on yet. So Colin's going to be taking on Eric, and then in our feature game, we are going to have Kevin Martin taking on James. And we've got our special commentator. We've got Mike Harris and Jerry Foltz from the Golf Channel,
and
along with John Fraser. So I'm going to put you guys into your breakout rooms, and then
I have to say another special thing.
Go. Okay.
James' birthday today.
It is James's birthday today, so take it easy on him, Kevin.
So just so you know.
It's also Kevin's daughter's birthday too, right?
It is.
Lots of birthdays.
All right, so we're gonna play the price video again, because apparently there was something wrong with the sound on that. So we're gonna play that for the live stream, and then I'll push you guys into the breakout rooms, and you can play your games.
Hey guys, Bryce Atkinson with Curling Zone. Thanks to Regan Burr for a few minutes here to talk to you guys about something that is near and dear to our family's heart, and that is lupus. And Regan is a tireless advocate in the work she does regarding lupus with the Lupus Research Foundation, and certainly Lupus Spiel and the event this weekend. Unfortunately, it's a disease that our family knows way too much about. As my mom, who was obviously my mom, my best friend, and really a mentor in a lot of ways with journalism, was diagnosed when I was in high school, just about to start high school in 1989, after numerous doctor's appointments, months and weeks of feeling horrible, not be able to figure out exactly what it was. Ended up flat on her back with a spinal tap. They did diagnose her with the most aggressive form of lupus, and many people know that lupus is not something that you get rid of. It's not like cancer that you're able to put it in remission. It's basically just something that you're able to deal with. You do put it in remission, so to speak, but you always have it. It never goes away. It's just something you learn to live with. But unfortunately, my mom lost her battle with lupus in 2002, March, due to complications with a pulmonary embolism. Here one minute, gone the next. And so she lives in me and so many of my family, my sister, my dad. But I want to say thank you to everybody doing your part this weekend. Those who have played in Lupus Spiel before, those who are playing this weekend, those who have given, volunteered, donated items, time, money to fight this nasty disease and important cause, which is lupus. And so thanks to everybody who has played a role in the past at past Lupus Spiels. Just cannot thank you enough, and cannot thank Regan enough, because it is absolutely debilitating for those who are afflicted with lupus. And hope in my lifetime we will see a cure. But thank you again to everybody, and thank you to Regan for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say good luck to everybody this weekend, and have some fun.
Yes, let us know where you are. We have to go.
What's your handle?
All right. I'm Albie Curl. I see you Okay, we're in room 1.
Okay, no
I'm
problem.
being challenged.
I
There we
will
go.
jump over to room 1 and shut off my, so I don't hear the ads.
And it looks like Kevin is starting with the hammer. So
Somehow I won the toss.
it's kind of interesting, just the randomness of that here. All right. Okay, I kind of like that. All right, I'm 0 for 3. So
Yeah.
All right, so you guys are in room 1. We got AB Curl and the old bear.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just getting underway. Quick introduction here, right on our YouTube stream. One of the commentators. My name is John Fraser. Very much an amateur curler. Very much the least qualified out of anybody in this game, and the least smart out of anybody in this game. If you read James's bio, who's your amateur competitor, the word nuclear's in it. That's all we got to say. I'm stealing that joke from curling commentator, Olympic silver medalist Mike Harris. Very special guest.